Good afternoon, and welcome to episode 36 of the Ripper Podcast.
Look, I'm not saying you should play college football till you're 28 years old, but it does make for an entertaining story and a good quarterback.
How we doing, y'all? Welcome to episode 44 of the Ripper Podcast. My name is Ethan Rollins. Thanks for joining me today. It's all me today. No Elson Gratz. He is currently getting slammed by midterms, is his direct words. So sending him the best of luck with those midterms. It's the best time of the sports year right now. The MLB playoffs are going on. We're into the heart of NFL football. Additionally, you got winter sports, NBA, NHL, those types of things. They're all getting started up. WNBA's in the playoffs too. There's plenty of stuff going on that we're all about. But we got a fun one planned right as we speak. There's MLB playoff action going on. We're going to be talking a little bit about that. President's Cup happened over the weekend in the world of golf. Then we're going to go through 3 stages of football, starting with high school, then college, and into the NFL. So thanks for joining us. I'm Ethan Rosenstiel. Let's get into it. MLB playoffs going on right now. Wild card round game 2 of the series. Each of the series is tonight, actually going on right now. 1 game already in the books, but let's start in San Diego. The Padres beat the Braves 4-0. Massive home run early in the first swing of playoff baseball for Fernando Tatis Jr. in a handful of years. And he puts one over the wall, sends that stadium into a frenzy. Michael King, starting pitcher for the Padres, puts up 12 Ks as well. So a massive game for the Padres. They shut out the Braves 4-0. They're the nightcap just because of obviously time zones, things like that. So we'll see them later tonight. Brewers lost a tough one, 8-4 against the Mets. I had the luxury of going to that game. And the place was a crazy atmosphere. First ever playoff game for me. Crazy atmosphere. It was a beautiful day out, but they actually had the roof closed because they wanted to make it more loud in the stadium. They wanted the echo, whatever that might be. So the roof was closed. Crazy. Sounded great. They did exactly what they wanted to. Got off to a hot start too. Good. Freddie Peralta struck 2 out. Was efficient in the top of the first. Bottom of the first, we put up 2 runs. Place is going bananas. Then the Mets return. They score 3 in the top of the second. So just like that, it is a 3-2 game. Couple innings go by. Brewers put up 2 more. Same thing happens, but more. The Mets put up 5 in the top of the 5th inning. Just ended the Brewers. The life out of the crowd was gone. And after that, it was smooth sailing for the Mets from there on out. So the Mets win that one. Brewers just didn't play their brand of baseball. They're the team. They're going to steal bases. They're going to be aggressive, play really good defense. They weren't able to do that. That is, that's what they want to do. And they want to be able to do that type of a thing. They didn't do that. I don't know if they stole a base. I know they attempted one, but I think it was a foul ball. So I don't know if they actually got a stolen base on the record. The Brewers want to play that brand of baseball, and when they're not able to do that, it's tough for them to win games. Pitching, Pat Murphy, manager for the Brewers, got a little bit of flack in his post-game press conference in regards to him pulling Freddie Peralta. He got hot. I think he had 9 in a row he put out, and they pulled him, put Joel Payamps in. And I thought Pat Murphy's reasoning for that was pretty reasonable. Didn't want Freddie to get to the top of the lineup for the 3rd time. Freddie was close to his max pitches, so he was close to his pitch limit. And they brought in Payamps, who over the last 30 starts had like a 103 ERA, which is absurd, and hadn't allowed a run in like the last 12 outings. And so pretty confident putting a guy like him in. Obviously didn't exactly go their way, but that's baseball. Anybody can win on any given day. And not the Brewers this time, but they got a good chance tonight to get back in the game. Crazy thing for the Mets is they played 2 games on Monday in that crazy doubleheader end of the season finish. So and that was in Atlanta. So they came from Atlanta to Milwaukee, played 2 games the day before, came back. They played an early start. It was a 4:30 start. Uh, so I mean, odds were against the Mets in that game, no doubt about it. But they came through and won that one against the Brewers 8-4. Um, 2 game. This series is actually already over. They are the early game. The Tigers beat Houston yesterday 3-1. And Tariq Skubal had 6 innings of shutout baseball, 4 hits, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. Then actually today the Tigers beat the Astros again 5-2. So the Tigers win the series. They're moving on. Back on August 11th, the Tigers were given a .2 chance or a percent chance to make the playoffs. Um, and here they are. They won their first round against the Astros, who's a very, very good baseball team, and they're going to continue to move on. So they're a team. The first series is already done in the world of baseball. The Royals taking on the Orioles. Royals won the game 1-0. Bobby Witt Jr. Drove in the only RBI. Cole Reagans, 6 scoreless innings, 4 hits, 8 strikeouts for the Royals. The Orioles are going to look to bounce back. One thing that I thought was kind of interesting is I would argue that the worst team in every series won. The closest exception maybe would be the Padres. The Padres obviously are a higher seed, but I would argue the Braves are a better team. But I think the Brewers are a better team than the Mets. I think Houston's better than the Tigers, and I think I think the Orioles are better than the Royals. And so there's that for you. Let me try and pull up the current score of the game going on right now. Top of the 6th, 1-1 game between the Orioles and Royals. 1-1 game there. I think the Brewers are on deck. They play at 6:30, so they're up next after that game. So going to be super fun, interesting to watch how that game goes. But playoff baseball is always a fun one. It's always fun to see how that goes about. Let's get back into golf. The United States wins the President's Cup. A lot of controversy over the weekend with this. President's Cup's obviously the United States versus International, where the Ryder Cup happens on the opposite years. That is the United States versus Europe. Keegan Bradley, who is the Ryder Cup captain for next year, clinched the final point. Pretty hype moment, if you would. Keegan Bradley, kind of on the back half of his career, he came out and presser said, if this was the last time I get to play golf, I would be okay with it. I mean, that he was that surreal. Match play really gets to these guys. Tom Kim and Sung Jae Im, both playing for the international team. They brought the energy and controversy early in the week, or early in the weekend. They were playing Scotty Scheffler, and Scotty was still putting, and them two left the green and started walking to the next hole, which isn't exactly the most sportsmanlike move. With that being said, it resulted in Scotty didn't make his putt, being the guy who he is, and had a little words for those two for leaving that. It wasn't an easy putt by any means, but that is the amazing part about these match play events, the Ryder Cup and the President's Cup, is the match play brings out a different level of competitiveness in these players because they're playing for more than just themselves. They're playing for a team. They're playing for their country. It's almost like we get a little glimpse of the Olympics every year with these match play events, and it's super fascinating to watch. But the United States wins this one. Keegan Bradley is the Ryder Cup captain. There's talks of him possibly being a playing captain, so he elects himself to play and is the captain. We did not see that last year in the Ryder Cup between Zach Johnson and Luke Donald. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But the United States wins the President's Cup in good style. A lot of competitiveness in that one. Let's move into the football world. Friday night tailgate happened over the weekend, the first ever. I reflecting on it, I think it went okay. Had some audio issues kind of midway through when we ended up having to improvise. I kind of expected that though. Um, Being the first one, I expected some issues, expected it not to go well. But I'm super happy we got the first one out of the way and are able to kind of move forward, understanding how to run it, how to do the event. But I do want to say thank you to JMB Insurance and True Homes, our two sponsors, for that event, for making that possible. It was a lot of fun to do. Thanks to Lane and James for joining, Owen for producing, and then all of our special guests who came on. I had a blast doing it. I hope that we are able to continue doing that moving forward, and seeing kind of where that takes us. Also, thanks to Cheesemakers Athletic Director Eric Jubek, the Mineral Booster Club, Art Club, the PE department for helping put this all on as well. Um, I think, I mean, we have a new platform now that we use for the podcast, um, which is new because of the Friday Night Tailgate, and we're putting out a better product. Um, so it did a lot for us. The Friday Night Tailgate did. Hope is to do this next year. I want to be able to go to some other schools and do it. Maybe not so much the actual tailgate part, but being able to do a pregame show, and continue to provide extensive coverage of local sports, because it was a lot of fun, and I think uh, there is a huge, not necessarily a need, but I think it enhances the juice that high school football presents, and I think it's a really cool thing, and so that is my goal going forward. So let's talk about some games though last week. Um, the game of the week last week, Monroe taking on McFarland, homecoming in Monroe. Monroe beats the Spartans 45-22. Cam Newcomer continues to roll. That man is an absolute beast. Running between the tackles, he just no answer from McFarland for them. Anything he touched seems like he was going for a big play. Peck Argyle won a close one against Riverdale, 22-19. Blackhawk Warren, they blew out Wazika. That was a talk on the Friday Night Tailgate. Still don't know how to pronounce that. Wazika, Seneca. I think it's funny that they rhyme, but I don't think they do. I'm not sure how that goes. But Blackhawk killed them 52-14. Belleville shutout win, which was super surprising over Southwestern Eastern Dubuque, 31-0. That one was the surprise, one of the surprise of the days. Broadhead Judah, I would call this an upset over New Glarus, 18-0. Homecoming for Broadhead, big massive win between two area schools. Darlington continues to roll in a big win over Fenimore, 49-6, and Evansville upset by Delavan Darien, 20-14. Delavan Darien plays the Cheesemakers this week, and their new head coach, they're looking a lot better than where they were a season ago. But Evansville upset, which is massive in the landscape of the Rock Valley Conference, which we talked about a lot in the past week, just because the game next week, Monroe versus Evansville, was setting up to be the conference championship, and Delavan Darien just toppled that idea. So it'll be interesting to see. Right now, it's Monroe's conference to lose, kind of back where that normally is. Normally, it is Monroe's conference to lose, back into that little bit of a normal landscape in terms for the Cheesemakers. And so that'll be something kind of interesting to look out for as well. Let's talk about week 7. How is it week 7 already? Absolutely crazy that we're already here in week 7. Game of the week, Lodi and Darlington. This game's actually in Lodi, I do believe. Lodi 4-2. Last time we talked about them was week 1 when they beat the Cheesemakers 6-7. Darlington comes in 6-1. It is week 7, not week 5, that it says on the graphic. But another big one, Edgerton and Evansville. Now, during the Friday Night Tailgate, we talked about the different tiers, and it seemed like it was Monroe and Evansville at the top. Teams like Edgerton, Delavan Darien, McFarland maybe were like at that next tier. This is now a tier 2 game, Edgerton and Evansville. Both of these teams, one-loss teams in conference, trying to keep their hopes alive in hopes of a Monroe conference loss to be able to propel themselves into the landscape of winning the Rock Valley Conference. Prairie du Chien and Broadhead Judah I'm gonna take Prairie du Chien. They're coming in hot, only one loss on the year. Bretta Judah is coming off of a big win against New Glarus off of homecoming. I think that team's starting to figure it out. New offense, new head coach. They're starting to kind of get that thing dialed in. But Prairie du Chien is a really, really good team. I think they come in and they're too much for the Cardinals to handle. Monroe takes on Delvin Darien on the road on that nice turf. Delvin Darien, another massive win over Evansville. I just don't think they're going to be able to hold off the Cheesemakers. Give me Monroe in that one. And New Glarus and Platteville, this is a good game. Both these teams similar in their playing style and record coming into this ball game. But give me the hometown New Glarus Garner Knights to get the job done. 17-7 so far this year. Hasn't been horrible. Hopefully we can eclipse that 20 win mark coming into this one. But there you go. Those are your Friday night lights picks in the area schools for week 7. 2 more weeks to go in the regular season, and then we kick off into the playoffs. But let's get to the next level of some football here, and that is a wee little college football. Week 5 in the books. It was a massive week in college football, an absolute massive week. Let's just kind of roll through the headlines here. Arch Manning and the Texas Longhorns continue to impress. They get their first SEC win over Miss State. Sounds like they got a bye week this week, but it sounds like Quinn Ewers will be back after that bye week, and so that looks Arch Manning got. I mean, the experience that Arch Manning got is just so good for him and his development. The Manning family wants him to be there 4 years. They want him to develop behind a good quarterback, and he is, and he's doing that. But him to be able to get a little bit of playing experience before he takes over a starting job, absolutely massive. And I think it's went pretty well for him. Had a couple blemishes through his couple weeks of play, but man, Arch Manning is going to be a good player. He's going to be a fun guy to watch. But Texas continues to roll. Biggest game of the year, though, Georgia and Alabama. That is one of the best games I think I've watched is for as long as I can remember. What a game it was. I don't let the numbers fool you. Big second half from Carson Beck, but don't let the numbers fool you. Carson Beck proved he showed his true identity. That first half, it was like watching a high school quarterback play against Alabama, quite literally. Uh, Carson Beck did not look good. He ended up with some garbage time points that resulted in a good game. Ended up coming back. I'm not impressed by Carson Beck. He fell down in my Heisman rankings. On the flip side, Jalen Milroe rose. I think Jalen Milroe played his game. They played Alabama football, what they wanted to do. This was a massive game, though. Big comeback by Georgia. Big response by Alabama. That Ryan Williams kid, man, he's a stud. 17-year-old wide receiver for the Tide. He's going to be a guy to watch out for many, many years to come, not only on Saturdays, but going in on Sundays as well. This was a crazy game. It lived up to the hype 110%. Yeah, I mean, it is one of the best games that I can remember in recent time watching, for sure. Watching it front to back, front to back too. So, Ole Miss, we talked about this. Elson and I did last week. We talked about how Ole Miss came into this week. They fell in my top 25 rankings, but the concerns about them not playing anybody. You see all these top teams, and before they get into conference play, they've played a really good opponent, a credible opponent, and beaten them. Ole Miss never did that. They never did that. They get into conference play, taking on Kentucky, and they lose, upset by Kentucky over Ole Miss. So the concerns prove to be true. Some of these teams who they just get by without playing anybody good. That's a little slightly concerning for a team like Ole Miss when you look at it. And, you got to be able to play those teams to keep up in the SEC. Teams like Alabama, Georgia, Texas now, those teams that are going to roll. And if they lose the game, that's going to be kind of a big deal. But for Ole Miss, they can't lose the game against Kentucky. The week before, we saw Kentucky give Georgia all they could handle in that 13-12 Georgia win. So, I mean, Kentucky is a team you got to watch out for, no doubt about it. But Ole Miss, the concerns proved to be true. Disappointing loss for them. They're not out of it with the 12-team playoff, but Jackson Dart's going to really have to step up. Him and Lane Kiffin for the Rebels needs to get going. The Miami Hurricanes, they just barely survive against Virginia Tech. Crazy finish to that game. Ohio State, they get a good win. We were kind of talking about they're another team that hasn't really played anybody. Michigan State was the first test for them. Take it for what you want, but they're an underrated team. Ohio State got a big win over them. They look good doing it. I think Ohio State gains a little bit of credibility for that. Utah, tough upset in this one. They need Cam Rising back. Zach Wilson's brother Isaac was their quarterback filling in, but they need Cam Rising back. Utah, I think Cam Rising is a guy that will save their college football playoff hopes, but they need to get their starting quarterback back. Um, and they need to get back in that win column because this was a tough loss. I think this is a bit of a demoralizing one for the Utes out there in Utah. Whiteout conditions in Happy Valley. Penn State got a big win against an Illinois team who could have came in and gave them a lot more than they could handle, but Penn State took care of business against the Fighting Illini. 20, I think it was 21-7. That's a good win for them. It's a really good win. They've got the quality wins against them in West Virginia now. So 2 games for Penn State that are going to help them as they continue to roll through the Big Ten Conference season. Massive win. It's a little disappointing that they had to play Illinois on their whiteout game, but Illinois is a good team. They've had a good year so far, and they will continue as they bounce back from a tough loss in primetime Happy Valley. Michigan. They got bailed by the refs in this one. The missed call on the onside kick against Minnesota, that was very disappointing. The Wolverines get bailed on this one. I full believer that Minnesota would have went down right down the field and scored. Minnesota would on after recovering that onside kick, but they called that offsides, which wasn't even close. But Michigan got bailed in this one. They should have lost to Minnesota. Not impressive for the Wolverines. In terms of Wisconsin, USC, USC coming off of that game against Michigan, Wisconsin sold it. If I should say, Phil Longo sold it. Uh, Big, massive lead. I think it was 21-10 at half. Miller Moss didn't look very good. The Badger defense was all over him. The Badgers looked like they were going to continue to roll in this game. And then it just didn't happen. Second half, I think the whole thing changed when it was 4th and 1. This is the second time this season that it's happened. 4th and 1, we line up in shotgun and run it, and we ended up losing 3 yards again. 2 times that's happened. That just can't happen. When you're the Wisconsin Badgers, you can't do that. My favorite part about the whole thing is former Badgers take to Twitter and they talk all about it. Braylon Allen, J.J. Watt, Fayon Hicks, all these guys. They rip them apart. This is just disappointing and can't happen by Phil Longo. I think if something doesn't change here the rest of this year, this is the last stint for Phil Longo in Wisconsin. I think Luke Fickell. A lot of people say, "Oh, Luke Fickell's just horrible." Whatever. It's not Luke Fickell's fault. He's not calling the plays. He's the one that decides to go for it on 4th and 1, which I think is he makes the right decisions in that. Um, I think Luke Fickell is a good fit for the Wisconsin brand of football. I just don't think Phil Longo does. We need to get back to getting under center, running the football, and still being able to throw the ball. It's okay to throw the ball still. I mean, we saw the throw the ball. The deep passes against USC really, really helped us, but we are just not able to run the ball when we need to. And that is not going to work in Wisconsin. Phil Longo, I'm calling for him to get out of there. The Badgers lost a tough one there. This would have been a massive game for them. They probably would have been ranked after this game if they would have beat USC, with their only loss being to Alabama. Tough, disappointing loss for the Badgers. They look to bounce back this week. My Fighting Irish, big, massive win against Louisville. On the flip side, I thought both my Badgers and the Irish were going to get big wins this weekend. I was very, very excited. But the Irish get a big win against an AP ranked Louisville, not in my rankings, but they are ranked in the AP poll. They get a big, massive win against that. They're going into the bye week on a high note. This is huge for the Irish. They're going to continue to roll through their season and lead into the playoffs. Oklahoma State, their starting quarterback, Alan Bowen, benched. This is a team that's really struggling, man. These guys don't exactly know what's going on. I don't think they know where they're at. They're 2 losses now. They fell out of my top 25. This is disappointing. Ollie Gordon might be the biggest disappointment of the season, coming in with all the hype that he got. He just can't figure it out right now. They can't get that run game going. Just very disappointing for Oklahoma State. We'll see how they continue to roll through the Big 12 season. Another Big 12 team, Iowa State. They continue to look good. Big shutout win for them this past weekend. Iowa State, they're just playing good. They're playing their brand of football and they're playing complementary football. The defense is looking good and the offense is scoring points. This is a good team. This is a fun team to watch. I'm loving this Iowa State team. They're going to continue to roll and rise up the rankings here as we roll into week 6. Let's look into a little bit of week 6 here. Here's my top 25 for what it is. A lot of movement in this one, as you can tell. Lots of movement. Alabama, the new number 1, big massive win over Georgia. Obviously, I think they're going to take over number 1. I believe in the AP poll they took the 1 seed as well. So obviously Texas falls a spot. Tennessee, Oregon, they stay put. Ohio State rises 3 spots with their nice win. Georgia only drops 4, so they remain in the top 7. Miami stays put. USC moves up 5. They're up to number 8. Penn State up a couple spots. Missouri stays put with their bye week. I do think, yeah, they had a bye week. Notre Dame up 5. They're up to 11 now. Ole Miss drops 6. Big rise from Kansas State up 12. The biggest riser of the week. Then a couple more spots for Michigan, LSU, Oklahoma. Aggies add a spot to the group, and BYU up 6. They continue to look good. Iowa State, who I've talked about, I'm really liking in Boston College. A couple drops. Illinois, they did drop 6, which is quite a lot for their loss to Penn State. Not necessarily when you lose against a team you're supposed to beat, it's a little more disheartening. But when you lose against a team you're supposed to lose to, as a ranked team, you don't get penalized as much. Illinois fell quite a bit, but I think I had them on the higher side than normal. Washington State lost. Their defense just couldn't hold up in their shootout type of game. And then Utah dropping 15 spots. Not looking good for them. Clemson into the rankings now, though. They're coming back after a they fell out of my rankings after week 1, but they're starting to look pretty good. Cade Klubnik is really starting to settle in a little bit, and so they're kind of getting there. They're looking a little bit better as they go about. So there is my top 25 heading into week 6. If you go to our podcast tab on our website, you can check out all the blog posts. Every week I post a recap from my top 25 for each team, a little write-up for each team, and then I do post a preview, including my new top 25 with their opponents, my game of the week, and then my top 5 Heisman favorites as well. So you can check that out. Additionally, Ellison Scouting, he's got posts on there as well. So make sure you do check those out because those are all the things that we're talking about. It just comes in a different form. Links are posted on social media, so check those out for sure. Definitely a good read for sure, no doubt about it. Let's get into some NFL. A couple headlines to get to. I think the big thing right now is the Davante Adams. He has not officially requested a trade, but he says he's preferred to get traded, which has speculation all over about where he's going to land. Obviously, the Jets are in the conversation because of his former connection in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers. And then former Vegas quarterback Derek Carr also has connection. So the Saints and Jets are the 2 preferred landing spots for Davante Adams. He said that he wants to go somewhere with a quarterback that he knows. So we put a poll out on social media, and we asked how many or where's the where do you think Davante Adams will land? We offered options of with the Raiders, so staying with the Raiders, going to the Jets, the Saints, or other. So any other team. 33% of votes say that he's going to go to the Raiders. 33% of the votes say he's going to go to the Jets, and 0% say Saints, and then 33% say other. I think I don't know exactly where he'll end up. They're saying it's a second round pick asking price, which isn't. I don't think that's a lot for Davante Adams, especially with what we've seen. He is 30 years old. Contract is on the back half. A lot of money. I don't know. I think that a team like the Jets, If I'm Robert Sala, and we're gonna talk about this a little later with him being on the coach's hot seat, I'm all over this, trying to go out, get a weapon, get another guy that's gonna help me save my job. Um, a team like the Saints, your wide receiver core, obviously Michael Thomas isn't playing for you right now. Um, you got Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, just to name a few of their guys. You're rolling right now, but adding another player like that could be helpful. Uh, the Raiders, that the like social media post by Antonio Pierce. Um, I don't know what his. Obviously, he's not really wanted, or he doesn't like the current situation in Oakland, or excuse me, Las Vegas. So whether or not he wants to be there, I'm not sure. I don't know what the other landing spots would be. It'd be interesting to see if there's anywhere else he'd really want to go. I don't. This is a tough one for me. I don't know if he'll go anywhere, and if he does, where he goes. I don't know. This is a tough one. I'm not 100% sure on this. It'll be interesting to see how this pans out and see. Obviously, it's Wednesday now. Does he get traded before this week? If he doesn't, does he play? How does this whole thing work? I don't know. It'll be fun to watch. Brandon Cooks, wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys played the Giants on Thursday Night Football this past week. He stayed in New York to get a treatment on his knee after the game. He's back, obviously, now, but he's developed an infection from that treatment. Brandon Cooks is for sure out this week, and they're saying it could be a couple more weeks down the road as well. Not sure about that, but he's for sure out this week. This is an interesting headline. I'm excited to see if anything more comes out, especially being a Cowboys fan. I'm interested to see if there's anything else that does come out from this in regards to the whole situation, and if there was anything like foul play or what happened, just a mistake. And this is just super intrigued to watch and see how this goes. Let's talk a little bit about the coaches hot seat. I got five coaches in mind, through couple weeks to start the season, who I think is on the hot seat. First coach that comes to mind is Robert Sala, head coach of the New York Jets. I mean, Aaron Rodgers full season, not going exactly according to plan. They still got a couple wins, but especially with that loss against the Broncos, not scoring a touchdown with Aaron Rodgers, very disappointing for the Jets in this one. Robert Sala, I think, is a man to blame. I mean, the whole talk about Salah not having a conversation with Aaron Rodgers about his hard counts, about how it's not exactly working. I mean, come on, Aaron Rodgers is the mastermind of hard counts, and you're going to tell him he can't do them anymore because your guys can't jump. That's a discipline issue that needs to be taken care of by the coaching staff. That's disappointing. That is bad coaching, in my opinion. No doubt about it. I think Robert Saleh should be gone yesterday. Number two, Doug Peterson of the Jaguars, obviously an 0-4 start. This is kind of a fun one because coming into the season, ownership of the Jags said this is the best team that they've assembled in a long time. Now they're 0-4. Front office, coaching staff, ownership, they're blaming it on the players. Nobody else. It's the players' fault. This is very intriguing to me because that's not necessarily a recipe for success. They were talking about it on the Pat McAfee show earlier today. Not exactly what you're looking for is the Jags. And 0-4 start. I'm not sure how the rest of the season will go. We've kind of seen them start off slow and get hot in the second half of the season. So we'll see how that goes. It's still early in the season, but you'd imagine Doug Peterson with an 0-4 start with. I mean, the Jags are a pretty good team, so you'd imagine that's a little weak. Mike McDaniel's with the Dolphins. This is a tough one. Obviously, losing Tua isn't easy, but you still have players like Achan. You got Hill, you got Waddle. There's still some offensive weapons, and they're not able to score touchdowns. Uh, when you lose your starting quarterback, there's something to say. I don't think he gets fired. Mike McDaniels is a good head coach. Hasn't kind of prevailed through that game in the playoffs yet. He hasn't taken that next step, but I think he remains. I think they give him the benefit of the doubt with losing their guy Tua. Mike McCarthy, I think, is on the hot seat. He was on the hot seat. I think he's on the hot seat no matter who the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys is. But 2-2 start, I think that was a big win against the Giants to get back to 500. This is a big game on the road Sunday Night Football against the Steelers, a team they should beat. Mike McCarthy needs to win some of these big games to get that team rolling. Obviously, the Commanders, who I'm proud to say I did pick them to win the NFC East preseason, they're gonna have to keep up with them, and even the Eagles too. NFC East is anybody's game right now, and Mike McCarthy is going to have to keep up with them in the last year of his contract. So he's going to have to really, really do something good to be able to keep his job and earn a new contract in Dallas. Last name on the list, Nick Sirianni of the Eagles. There's a lot of feud between him and Jalen Hurts. That was kind of a talking point coming into the season. Still controversy in the media during press conferences, things like that. But the Eagles still are not performing to the highest standard. It's hard right now, though. It seems like any team can win on any given week. That's how the NFL set up. We'll talk about that when we talk about some of the games that happened last week, games happening this week. But that's super interesting to me. Those five head coaches that I think are currently on the hot seat early in the season. We'll see how that kind of turns out and continues to go down as we roll on. Let's get to some fantasy football here. Update in the the standings here. I will say, earned my first loss this year in the podcast league. Not a good week for me in fantasy. I think I won in one of my 4 leagues. So I'm looking to bounce back here moving forward. There's your standings though. Uh, you know, I will say that it's just such a weird year in the NFL, and I'm going to continue to talk about this. Any team can win in any given week. Any player can put up any good performance. It's so unpredictable right now, and it is just so challenging to be able to determine who to play, who to not play, who's going to win, who's not going to win, those types of things. But there's your power rankings for our fantasy football league, 16-man league. I'm still pretty happy being 3-1 in that league. I think we're going to be just fine rolling into the postseason. Week 4 review in the NFL. Let's start Thursday Night Football. Dallas Cowboys, my boys, get a big win over the Giants, 20-15. Giants did not score a touchdown in this game. 5 field goals for the Giants. Cowboys did end up losing Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence in this game. Lawrence goes to the IR. Parsons is trying to get back as soon as possible. So 2 pass rushers. This could be a good thing for this team. It could possibly have to force them to change their defensive identity, which might help with their game plan. So I think this could be a potential good thing for the Cowboys. But obviously no injuries, especially losing the best defensive player in football. Nothing is good for injury-wise, losing players. But the Cowboys do lose 2 starting edge rushers. They got a big win. They got a big game coming up against the Steelers. Broncos win 10-9 over the Jets. This is an interesting one as well. The defense for the Broncos, they win this game. No touchdowns scored by Aaron Rodgers. I think it's like the first time ever in his career or something along those lines. Bo Nix gets his first passing touchdown. I think he threw for about 60 yards in this game, but he got the job done, got a big win. Broncos are 2-2. They're looking good. The Vikings hold off the Packers, come back 31-29. Are the Packers better without Jordan Love? I mean, Jordan Love 0-2 this year. Malik Willis 2-0. It's kind of an interesting thing to think about because I mean those are 2 numbers. No matter who you are, you cannot deny that Jordan Love is 0-2 and Malik Willis is 2-0. You cannot deny it, but it's because of the changing game plan. And so what does that tell you? Maybe when Jordan Love, they need to run the football more when he's in the game. Is running the football the key to success for this team? It could be because that's what they did with Malik Willis. Does Malik Willis's dual threat ability present a different task, a little bit of a different game plan for the defense coming into the game? I don't know, but you can't deny that Malik Willis is 2-0 and Jordan Love is 0-2 right now. You cannot deny that, and we're going to see how the Packers continue to go in this one. But Jordan Love, obviously coming off the injury, you saw him limp a couple times when he got hit. It'd be interesting to see how he does year 1 with this new contract. We'll see how that goes. Eagles blown out by the Buccaneers 33-16. Baker Mayfield accounted for 347 yards, 3 total touchdowns. There's just a lot of concerns in Philadelphia right now. The coaching staff, their relationship with the players, Jalen Hurts' ability to even perform. Obviously, Saquon seems like a really good pickup for him. He's been good. You got to be able to get him the football. But this is just one of those leagues. Any given week, whoever's got a better game plan seems to win. The Buccaneers did in this game. Pretty crazy game. Steelers 24, Colts 27. Joe Flacco comes in for Anthony Richardson and looks really, really good. It does look like AR-15 is going to be coming back soon, probably this week. Justin Fields, though, continues to look good. I think he had over 300 yards in this game passing. Justin Fields is doing the job. His team put 24 points up against a pretty good Colts team. This isn't bad for the Justin Fields. I think Russell Wilson should be traded. He should go to Miami. They should have done that instead of picking up Snoop Huntley or whatever that guy's name is. But yeah, Justin Fields looks like he found a home in Pittsburgh, and I'm loving this Pittsburgh team right now. A little nervous going into this one for my Cowboys, but still all the confidence in the world. Caleb Williams settling in. Bears win 24-18 over the Rams. Good win. Caleb Williams, like I said, looks like he's starting to settle in a little bit. He led a couple scoring drives. The Rams are struggling right now without Puka and Cooper Kupp. Without those two guys, they're struggling. Tutu Atwell has stepped up for him. But yeah, the Bears are looking good. Caleb Williams starting to settle in. They're beating good teams like the Rams. This is just it's a crazy landscape in football right now. The Commanders 42 over the Cardinals 14. Jane Daniels looks like he could win the MVP right now. This is a really good team. I picked these guys to win the NFC East preseason. They had a tough week one, but they're starting to look good, obviously, with a big win over the Cardinals. On the Cardinals side, though, they're a better team than their record shows. They're 1-3 right now. They've had a pretty tough schedule to start the year, especially when you look at it after the season's over. Um, the Cardinals are a really good team. Their defense struggles a little bit, but the Cardinals, I think, have a good squad. Kyler Murray's going to get these guys kind of going back. James Conner is the definition of consistency. This is a good football team, but the Commanders just came ready to go in this game. Jaden Daniels looks great. Chiefs 17, Chargers 10. The Chiefs, I don't think that this is another thing I kind of took from the Pat McAfee show today. If you can't tell, I love that show as well. The Chiefs they haven't really uh, ended a game and be able to look back and say we played a really, really good game. They're not playing good football, but they've still won every single game. And that's a credit to Andy Reid, a credit to Patrick Mahomes. They got Travis Kelce involved this week, like we haven't kind of seen so far, which hurts me on fantasy. But he's back, as they want to say. But the Chiefs are continuing to win. They got a big win against interdivision rival Chargers. They're just not. I mean, they put 17 points up, but the defense, Spags has that defense rolling. It's 17-10. I mean, that's the new brand of football right now. Big win for them. Monday Night Football, Ravens all over the Bills in this one, 35-10. Derrick Henry runs for 199 yards. They put him in. They just couldn't quite get him that 200 yards. But the first struggle that we've seen from the Bills have looked good so far. We'll see how the Bills bounce back in this one. Monday Night Football, Lions over the Seahawks 42-19. Jared Goff was perfect. 18 for 18. What a game for Jared Goff. He set the NFL record for that. And the Seahawks still look good. They didn't quit at all. The Seahawks, I mean, Mike McDonald has his team rolling. They look good. They still put 29 points up. The defense struggled, obviously, but this Lions team looked good. Offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, who's going to be a head coach somewhere. He had a perfect game plan coming in. They dropped 42 on offense. Lions they're back at it, but the Seahawks, not a team really to be concerned about. They're going to be continuing to play well. They're going to be just fine in the landscape of the season. Let's get to week 5. Big week in the NFL. There's an interesting one because there's so many teams that can win on any given week. But that's just how this league is designed. The NFL is designed for anybody to win in any given week. It's not like college football, which is good and bad, but there's no team. I mean, there's always going to be a team that's favored, but anybody can win. And that is the luxury of the sport we love. But we got a fun game tomorrow night. Buccaneers taking on the Falcons. Both teams have playoff aspirations. Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield coming off of a big game. Falcons looking to get Kirk and the boys back at it. This is gonna be a big game. This is gonna be a fun one to watch. Thursday night football. Can't wait for it. First London game of the year. Jets taking on the Vikings. I think the Jets could. This is a game the Jets can win. I think Aaron Rodgers knows a lot about the Vikings. Obviously, this is a new look Vikings compared to when he was playing them twice a year. But in London, Rodgers with that experience over the Vikings, I think this is the game that the Jets can win. And that would be my pick. I think that the Jets get the job done in London. It's only a 6-hour flight from New Jersey to London, and it's going to probably be another 2 or 3 hours from Minnesota. So it's a little bit of more home field advantage for the Jets, no doubt about it. Ravens, Bengals. Ravens coming off a massive win against the Bills. Bengals get their first win of the year. Um, this is going to be an interesting one to watch as well. Early kick. I think the Ravens on the road. I think the Bengals could put up a test, but the Ravens, they've proved that they can go on the road and win. They've won their last 2 games. Um, I think this is a Ravens team that probably is going to get the job done. Bills Texans. This is a fun one. Bills coming in. They're trying to bounce back after a tough loss. Texans got to win. I believe over the Jaguars last week. I think this game could go either way. Texans probably get the nod because they're at home, but this could be a fun game to watch. Panthers 1-3 taking on the 2-2 Bears. First game since that whole trade kind of boiled out. And Caleb Williams, who could have been a Panther, playing now for the Bears. This is a game I think Andy Dalton can go in control. I think the veteran experience is almost going to prove pivotal in this season as this goes on. This is a game that I wouldn't mind picking the Panthers, but we'll see how the Bears if they can continue to roll above 500. That'd be fun to see for Chicago. Cardinals 1-3. Like I said, they're better than their record shows. They taking on a good 49ers team who's only 2-2 this season without Christian McCaffrey. This game could go either way as well. I think the 49ers do take care of business though. Packers 2-2 on the road taking on the 1-3 Rams. This is a fun one. Packers, like we talked about Jordan Love 0-2 this year. How does he handle going in on the road? This is a little bit of a different test for him. Rams, you got Matthew Stafford. How does this team handle a team? Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur, two very similar. They know each other, coached on the same staff before they became head coaches. So this is going to be a fun game to watch, and it's intriguing to be excited about that one. Sunday Night Football, Cowboys on the road against the Steelers. This is a game the Cowboys should win, but that Steeler defense, I think, is going to play them tough. It'll be interesting to see. No Brandon Cooks now, so the weapons a little scarce for the Dallas Cowboys. Steelers, they're playing their brand of football. Can the defensive, losing both your edge rushers, so trying to keep contained against Justin Fields, how can they do that? We're going to see a guy by the name of Marshawn Nealand, rookie defensive end out of Western Michigan. He was the second-round draft pick for the Cowboys this past season. He's going to be a guy who's going to get a big test. Sunday Night Football, he's going to get a big test. First of his career to play now without Parsons and Lawrence. I think this is going to be fun to see him. How does he handle the situation? That's going to be a big storyline in this game. Monday Night Football then, Saints, Chiefs. This is two good teams, two really, really good teams on both sides, both the AFC and the NFC. We'll talk about this game more with our new podcast format, but this is a game where you would expect the Chiefs on Monday Night Football to continue to roll, but watch out for the Saints. This is going to be a tight game. It should be pretty fun to watch. Hey, that's all I got in this one. I appreciate you all joining us here today. A little bit of a new format, though, we're going to be rolling out. We're going to attempt to do this. I don't know if this will last very long, but this is going to be a fun one. So we got 2 shows a week. We're going to be rolling out Mondays and on Wednesdays. We're currently on that Wednesday schedule, but we're going to add a Monday show as well. The Monday show is going to be designed to be a recap of the sports weekend, and a Wednesday show is going to be designed to be a preview of the upcoming sports weekend. We're trying to provide a shorter show, less than an hour, ideally, compared to the hour and a half that it is right now. And we want to be able to continue to go in depth more and more, especially with Elson, who is very, very knowledgeable. Want to be able to continue to go in depth and provide better and better content, better coverage about sports and all levels. So that is the goal. Additionally, You were live on Facebook and YouTube today. We tried Instagram out for the Friday night tailgate. Didn't get that one exactly to work. We tried X out today. That one's a little difficult. We're trying to figure out that third platform to be able to stream on. We'll figure that one out, but on multiple platforms now. So that's super intriguing as well. We're dialing the podcast in. It's super exciting time. A lot of sports to talk about. But that's all I got. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Ethan Rollensteel. Enjoy Brewer baseball tonight. Go Brewers. We do not want to see another first round exit from the crew. Enjoy the week of football. Not a lot of big games in college football, but enough to be excited about in this one. Thanks for joining me. Have a great rest of your day. Go Brewers. So this is where